Hey there, so today I want to highlight an exchange between a comic book shop employee and Mags Visaggio. Now before going into this, I want to say that I'm going to do my damnedest to remain neutral. However, within this, I do not have particularly good feelings about Mags Visaggio or Black Mask. Mags Visaggio, the reason that is not reasons that are discussed here, but instead are reasons that you would see heaped on so many people. You know, you have the pomp and the pageantry, the buzzwords and on that are heaped on consumers that talk about quality, and they talk about the rise of the unpro or the professional that can be everything except professional. Mags Visaggio acts like that quite a bit. Mags Visaggio blames it on other things out there. This one guy out here acted a specific way, so therefore I'm going to go out and I'm going to disparage tens of thousands of people. Way to go. I mean, that, you know, with any other grouping there, that would be considered hate, but hey, what do I know? Also, when you're talking about professionalism, I've talked about block bots in exhaustion, and I do not believe in them. I do not believe that you go out and you block people indiscriminately. I think that you handle things individually. If they want to handle it that way, that's their business. That is the company's business. However, I will say loudly that that is not backable, and I would never recommend a comic book that is brought to you by someone that allows it or a company that does that. Now, we're talking about Black Mask. Black Mask cannot comport themselves neutrally as a publisher. I don't think you need to say much more than that. When you look at a publisher, if they have people that are representing them, be it in the upper echelon of their executive staff or be that within their employee ranking, I mean, you see this kind of stuff. I don't find it to be backable, and well, I would say that most people wouldn't find that too. However, like I said, I'm going to do my best not to give an opinion on this because there are certain things within this that I do not agree with on both sides, you know. And at the end of the day, you're talking about a comic book shop making a decision on not to stock something. They have that right. You know, in fact, when we looked at the thing with Jawbreakers, comic book shops had the right not to stock a comic. The problem was that they were coming out and they were saying things like, we are going to intimidate publishers, we are going to harass other comic book shops. They did that behind the scenes. And also they said that they would not fulfill orders, period. Now that would be one comic they did that too, while carrying other things like, I don't know, the My Friend Dahmer book, for example, one of the bookstores throughout there. So you had them carrying a book where a guy actually murdered, you know, people from other walks of life, you know, whether that be certain identities or certain shades, you know, those people out there were murdered by this person. But DNC somehow is worse than that. That is a problem to me. What these people are talking about here, they're talking about the choice of not carrying something, or not putting it on their shelves, but they say that they will fulfill any order that someone with a whole box wants to put. So all that said, let's begin. So we have this start out with I will no way in hell order this for the shelf of my stores. Hashtag Comicsgate. Hashtag Team Comics. Hashtag comic books. You can see the listing of this here. You know, you see Mags there, Becca Farrow, and I don't know anything about this. I actually had to look it up. The reason for that, again, is I do not support Black Mask at all. I've found some of the things that they do utterly detestable. But here is the description. Life is a story. Hers is being written. Still reeling from the sudden collapse of her cover, Manhattanite sorceress Esperanza tries to rebuild. But everyone in her life is saying she's done and said some things that never happened. Terrible things. Before she knows it, she's becoming someone entirely different. Someone she used to be. Once upon a time. Life is full of changes in this urban fantasy from Eisner-nominated writer. And we go on with the description here. So you can see when it comes out and all of that. So, of course, this person is saying, hey, I'm not going to carry that. Of course, you have some people saying, you know, here and there, hey, that's your prerogative. Just don't be surprised if other shops feel the same about your books from CG authors. And then I leave this exchange in there as well because of this edition. Over the course of a year, we've changed how we order comics, and sales have been growing. And we see less dead books on the shelves. We still order any book a hold customer wants, but won't order books with agendas for the shelf. And I wonder within that, what exactly is an agenda? I'm curious about how that's defined when picking up products. See, for myself, I could look at something and tell you, as a comic book consumer, what is interesting and not. And I can pretty much tell you, for a region, exactly what would or wouldn't sell. Now, there's going to be, outliers within that will buy things. That's why you need the whole box there. But you should be able to track, what your consumers want or don't want pretty easily here. But continuing here, comics are a vehicle to escape the world, to entertain people. Creators should not be preaching or attaching personal ideology to established characters, Marvel or DC. We are just choosing with our wallets as a shop on what to support for our shelves. Now, to be fair within this, I do agree with the attaching to legacy characters. However, this is not Marvel or DC, just to clear that up. So for that, we're going to have to agree to disagree. I like my comics or fiction to have elements of reality in them. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I adore X-Men so much. Like you, I'm choosing my wallet, but what I buy just happens to be the books you probably hate. And then Mags comes in and says, I'm curious what you think SDR's agenda is. So the person decides they're going to put together a YouTube video. Now, Mags says, hey, I'm not going to watch your YouTube video, which I thought was actually pretty damn dismissive when I saw it. But then, there's a transcript of it because the person actually wanted to give their opinion. So they created a transcript, which you and I are going to go over. We're going to read it kind of quickly here. Before I begin, I need to make a couple of things clear. Thoughts expressed are mine alone, do not represent the comic shop I work for. We take pride in ordering any books our customers want to order and serve everyone equally. I was asked directly why I would not stock this book for my shelf, and this is my direct reply made with careful thought and awareness of emotion involved in these tender issues. So let's begin. Why will not stock SDR on the shelf? When reading this book, I got a glimpse into the mind of Mags Visaggio, and I feel myself a bit sad and empathetic toward how they feel as a person. Her thoughts came out in the main character Esperanza. You can see the internal guilt and conflict Mags feels inside. There is a scene with a therapist of sort, and the dialogue is eye-opening. I wonder what a therapist of sorts is. I wonder within that because, how many books have we gotten with therapists? But continuing. So I started my transition last year, but I can't shake this guilt over it. Like there's this version of me sitting in the corner watching me and judging me like every single second, and he's just shitting on everything I do. Like I know that this wasn't the life I decided on when I was 18, but I'm 25 now and I'm transitioning, and I can't shake the old idea of the man I used to be. The internal guilt about transitioning in real life clearly came out in the dialogue here. We can see how she is not really accepting of the choices made and is refusing to listen to herself. The therapist character continues to reinforce the transition into something she is comfortable with, and clearly she is uncomfortable with the process. Early in the book, we see Esperanza say, to do it well, you've got to know yourself. Every single dark corner that proves you're a garbage person. Lucky for me, I got rid of all of that stuff. I changed myself. I took the old me, nasty, pretentious, shut off, and superior me, and got rid of them. I think Mags here is talking to herself and trying to convince herself that she would be better off making the transition in life. But I feel like she is trying to put a mask over the wounds and has not really dealt with the issue at hand. I feel she is trying to use the character in the book as a sort of tool, help her transition further and find balance she seeks in real life, and to encourage those also in transition to continue to change and forgo their natural forms, to break someone they are not, or to become someone they are not, to kill their natural selves. Clearly, her former self is trying to break free and become the man he once was. It's never too late to be yourself again. Do not fight your inner desire to become what you once were. I encourage you to reach out and seek help. But if you you want to continue to go down this road, I believe you will only end up in self-destruction and forever unhappy with your choices. I will not put this book on the shelves because of poor writing and art. In fact, I think so far it was written really well. But I will not stock this book because it sends the message someone who is confused, and it is okay, that it will all work out, it will end in happiness, and all will be right with the world, when in fact you are leading a person who is thinking of transitioning down a dark path, self-destruction, mutilation, and possible suicide. I hope you find the help you need, but do not sugarcoat your own personal struggles in a book to convince yourself it will all work out in the end. All right, so that is the entirety of the transcript there. It's about a 5-minute video, and we get a response to that. Oh, honey, no. Man, I hate that way breaking it up there. You know, that wanting to be dramatic there, can't you just combine that, Mags? Come on now. This is a book about being conflicted about transition, but not in the way you think it is. And if you want to tell yourself that I'm not happy having done it, go ahead, right ahead and fret your little head about me. SDR is a book about dealing with lost futures and with something I didn't know at the time was dissociative behavior. I wrote this book over a year ago. It's about dealing with having given up being a certain kind of person and mourning that. No, not every trans person goes through that, but enough of us do. Enough of us still honor the love the person we used to be, or still recognize why we sucked the way we did, and are trying to shed a lot of coping mechanisms that aren't helping anymore. The conflict is about it being hard to change, and the process a lot of us go through early on. Again, I was less than a year into my social transition when I wrote this in March 2017, of deliberately forcing change, just rip off the Band-Aid. It didn't work for me, and I had to try and back off a little bit in terms of how I wanted to redefine myself. But at no point ever has detransition been on the table for me. And I'm genuinely insulted that you've decided that you have such a window in my mind as to tell me how I feel about who I am. You don't. Listen to me. Listen, rather. I get that you're not with the trans thing, and you're bringing those biases. We all have them. It's not a dirty word to the table, but I promise you that you don't know what you're talking about regarding me or trans people in general. I know I'm not going to convince you that my mental health is better than it was before. I wish I could introduce you to the anxious and cripplingly depressed person I used to be, someone with no sense of self whatsoever. I wish I could show you how much better I am. I know that I can't, and I'm not going to ask you to stock my book. That's your prerogative, and I respect that. But I promise you what SDR is about is making peace with the fact that you've changed and needed to, about reconciling yourself to your past. If you want to tell yourself I'm conflicted, feel free to sit there in your worry while I'm out here living the only life I ever wanted. I assure you that your concern is unnecessary, but since that won't convince you, let me say only this. You've never met me, and you don't know me, and you can't make these judgments about me. Psychoanalyzing me from a distance is a shitty thing to do. Thanks for your time. Actually, therapy from a distance is not a good thing. That is true. You cannot go and look at a person and give any kind of diagnosis from afar. That's something that we see a lot of folks within comic books doing to, say, political figures. And yeah, maybe they should heed their own word with that. But I mean, that's actually true. What I find very interesting about this whole description, too, is I didn't learn a lot about the book. Like when I look at the description and I look at this, I don't feel like I learned a lot about what's going to be in these pages. In fact, I feel like I just tuned in to a debate about Mags Visaggio, and I wonder exactly how much of that is on the page. But still, that is neither here nor there in this exchange. What I'm wondering about within this, as I'm wondering when you see this kind of thing, thing. What do you think about the exchange itself? I mean, when you see that, is that a healthy exchange, first of all? At least it was polite there. I think it was polite on both sides of it. And really, I mean, when you're talking about comics, when you're talking about not stocking things, do you think that was appropriate within this? Do you think there's anyone in the wrong within this? Or do you think, hey, that's perfectly acceptable? See, these days, we do not have a lot of dialogue between anyone out there. There is normally this buffer within life that doesn't even allow people to communicate. In fact, that's what the block bot is, you know? And I'm showcasing this on a different account because, yeah, I have to go and I have to look at it from afar, from a person that's never interacted with me, that has decided, hey, to judge me when they're telling others not to judge them from afar. It is an interesting message within that too, but that's neither here nor there either. But anyhow, you tell me what you think in this stuff. I am genuinely curious, and that's why I put together this. Not to take sides in an equation, you know, where I know that I would not buy the comic, but the comic, the reason I wouldn't buy that is because of a lack of professionalism. I mean, bar none. I haven't even gotten to the description or anything else. So I have my own thoughts on it. But again, that's not what I'm trying to highlight there. Let me know what you think. If you like this kind of content, please consider supporting the channel. Like, do you like it stuff?
Yeah.
And subscribe. They definitely should subscribe, right? Yeah, that way they get all of our videos. That's good stuff. And consider the links within the description. We have a Patreon. Can you say Patreon?
Patreon.
They have a PayPal link and also this lovely merchandise. Look at this shirt with a hey there. Can you say hey there?
Hey there.
What do you think about this shirt?
Yes, it really contacts everything.
Man.
Except the black sky.
Oh, the black sky. I didn't even know we had a black sky. What about this coffee mug? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it really contacts the way of the 8 stars.
Oh, yeah, that's really beautiful, too.
And the fireflies.
Oh, and fireflies. What about this? What do you think about those tentacles with Detective Tug? Wokeness of the damned. What do you think about the monsters there?
It's good. It contacts too.
It does? And what about that on a coffee mug?
It contacts too.
All right. You know, that's a Tug Glug coffee mug. Can you say that?
Tug Glove coffee mug.
Wow. Give me 5 on that one. That's good. So which one is your favorite out of all of this? Do you like the Hey There's, or do you like the Tug Glug coffee mug? Or do you like HP TUGCRAFT? Or you like the Tug mug?
I love them all.
You love them all. That's good. So everybody should pick up every one, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good job there. You want to say bye?
Bye.
And give us your thoughts. Thank you.
I am. Thank you.